refrigeration startup and adjustments.
General safety information. Installation, maintenance, and servicing are to be performed only by trained and qualified personnel familiar with commercial walk-in products. Ensure that all field wiring conforms to the equipment requirements and all applicable local and national codes. Disconnect all power sources before servicing the unit. Sheet metal and coil surfaces have sharp edges. Use appropriate protective gloves to prevent injury. Use appropriate eye protection during installation and servicing.
Condensing units. Colpack provides three types: PR, which is the pre-assembled remote, nitrogen charged and hard piped; PC, pre-charged with Freon to support 50 feet of line run, hard piped; PCL, pre-charged with line set, utilizes quick connect fittings. There are three valves that need to be opened before each system is powered on: base mount valves, both suction and liquid, and the receiver tank valve. Evaporator coils. There are two valves located in the evaporator coil: the expansion valve and the solenoid valve. Leak testing PR model. Open both liquid and suction service base mount valves and the receiver tank valve. Ensure solenoid valve is open using a magnet or energizing the solenoid coil. Add 50 psi of refrigerant, then pressurize with dry nitrogen to 250 psi, equalized on both high and low side. Allow 30 minutes for refrigerant to reach all parts of the system. Check all joints and components with an electronic leak detector. Release reclaimed nitrogen charge. Evacuation of PR model systems. Entire system is being evacuated. Ensure all valves, including solenoid valve, are all open. Connect vacuum pump to the liquid and suction service valves at the condensing unit. Maintain vacuum for a minimum of 4 hours, evacuating the system to 250 microns. Perform a vacuum decay test for a minimum of 10 minutes to ensure the system is leak-free and dry. Charging PR model systems. Freon should be added to the system through the liquid line base mount service valve. Do not charge liquid refrigerant into the suction service valve. The initial charge should be determined by sight glass indication. Start the system. If the condensing temperature is 105 degrees or greater, charge the system until the sight glass clears. If the condensing temperature is below 105 degrees, reduce the condenser face surface area to raise the discharge pressure above 105 degrees and charge to a clear sight glass. Return to a full condenser face area when charging is complete. Leak testing PC model systems. Leave the liquid and suction service base mount valves closed. The condensing unit is charged with refrigerant. Ensure solenoid valve is open using a magnet or energizing the solenoid coil. Add 50 psi of refrigerant, then pressurize with dry nitrogen to 250 psi, equalized on both high and low side. Allow 30 minutes for refrigerant to reach all parts of the system. Check all joints and components with an electronic leak detector. Release reclaimed nitrogen charge. Evacuation of PC model systems. Leave base mount service valves closed. The condensing unit has been evacuated and charged. Ensure the solenoid valve is open. Connect vacuum pump to the liquid and suction service valves at the condensing unit. Evacuate the line set and evaporator coil to 250 microns and maintain vacuum for a minimum of 4 hours. Perform a vacuum decay test for a minimum of 10 minutes to ensure the system is leak-free and dry. Open receiver tank and liquid line base mount valve to release the factory charge. Ready to start, open suction line base mount valve once started. Leak testing PCL model systems. Open receiver tank and liquid line base mount valves to release the factory charge. Ensure solenoid valve is open using a magnet or energizing the solenoid coil. Allow 30 minutes for refrigerant to reach all parts of the system. Check all joints and components with an electronic leak detector. Evacuation of PCL models. PCL systems do not require evacuation. Ready to start, open suction line base mount valve once started. Pre-start checks. Verify all service valves are fully open, including the receiver tank valve. Ensure all refrigerant and electrical connections are tight. Verify all wiring and piping is properly routed and secured. All fan motors and mounting brackets are tight. The condenser unit base and evaporator coil are properly secured. And the expansion valve bulb should be mounted in the 3, 4, 8, or 9 o'clock position on the suction line. Mounting the condensing unit. The picture on the left is the correct way to mount the condensing unit that provides the correct support. Picture on the right indicates proper connection. You should not have any exposed threads. The picture on the left can create oil traps. Operational startup. The first 2 to 4 hours of operation after initial startup is a critical time. Do not start the system in a vacuum. Do not just start the system and leave. Pressure values, compressor and evaporator superheat, and inspection for excessive vibrations and loose connections are some checks that must be performed prior to leaving the system. Do not leave the system unattended until normal operating conditions are achieved. Startup procedure. Operate the system for a minimum of 2 hours and perform the following checks. Check compressor discharge and suction pressures to ensure they are within the normal operating ranges. Check liquid line sight glass for proper refrigerant charge based off of 105 degree condenser coil temp. Check the voltage and amperage at the compressor terminals. Voltage must be within plus 10% or minus 5% of the rating indicated on the condenser unit nameplate. On 3-phase compressors, verify there is a balanced load. Check crankcase heater operation. Set the defrost time and verify the defrost initiation settings. Verify temperature control settings. Adjust if necessary. Check compressor and evaporator superheat. Adjust if necessary. A minimum superheat of 20 degrees is required at the compressor. Evaporator superheat for coolers 6 to 10 degrees and freezers 4 to 8 degrees. After all system checks have been checked, properly adjusted and verified, replace all Schrader caps, service valve caps, electrical box covers, housing, etc. Operating pressures. Medium temp cooler at 35 degrees, suction pressure 50 to 55 psi for R404A units and 45 to 50 psi for R448A unit. Use PT chart for proper discharge pressures. If applicable, reference low ambient control settings, and the recommended superheat is 8 to 12 for low temp freezers. Suction pressure 15 to 20 psi for 404A and 10 to 15 psi for R448A. Again, use PT chart for proper discharge pressures. If applicable, reference low ambient control settings. Recommended superheat 4 to 8. System startup checklist. A startup checklist is located in the back of each installation manual provided with your equipment. You can visit our website for more installation videos at www.colpack.com or call 1-800-225-9916 for more information.